It's Dandadan, the show where we talk about Dandadan, a manga about the dum-de-dums. Momo and Okarun is a ship that will never die. And this chapter, at least to me, pretty much proved that. Even when Momo has forgotten all about little old Ken Takakura, that dynamic and bond between them seemed to be completely intact and all there, through space, time, and dumbness. But when we were told Dandadan is on the downward trend, we are rewarded instead with one of the better chapters thus far in this new arc. But before we dive in properly, I am sorry, I have to annoy you with an ad so that I may be able to eat and feed my precious whittle kitters. Kitty.
In this video, we'll be talking about Momo Ayase in Dandadan. Because right now, Dandadan fans are arguing like crazy over her. Some people think Momo is one of the best written female characters in recent anime. Confident, emotional, loyal, and real. Others, they think she's overrated, that she's just another anime girl with attitude. But here's the thing. Momo isn't supposed to be perfect. She's supposed to feel human.
Title of the chapter, but most importantly, the chapter does pick up after chapter 212. Okarun is ready to face Momo head on and be there to support like he has always done. In particular, he feels the need to act in a way that Momo did when she first stood up for him way back in Chapter 1. That is to say, to reintroduce himself back into her life the same way that she introduced herself into his. This gives us clear insight into, I think, Okarun's goals more clearly. He feels that there is a kind of debt that he hasn't paid yet from that first chapter, but also because he is trying to be the man that she would need. And he is doing it and does it particularly well in this chapter, if I say so myself. Which, as I say that, I know some will say he chickened out this entire chapter and that they're just going back to being friends and went back on everything his character had previously stood for. That is not at all true here, as we'll further break down and analyze as the chapter moves on, but much in the same way how the last chapter was there to show the reader that this isn't some basic ass lazy trope situation to lengthen the story, there is much more to that than what a vibe check would suggest. In other words, is the goal here the vibe, or is that just a vibe? Marching through the hallway, Okarun sees Momo laughing away with her friends and Gigi, who is entertaining the girls. Essentially, this is Gigi's default factory settings, but he can only seem to focus on, at that moment, how Momo is laughing and having so much fun with Gigi and her friends. And this is at first something of a regression for Okarun, or at least that is the vibe of what it would seem like. Okarun witnessing his girl laughing at Gigi deflates the poor guy. But this is not a regression or anything like that. It's more of just a deflation. Okarun says that this is not the time. Seeing Momo laugh and have fun, he is now starting to overthink things and consider that he may not be as needed as he may have thought he previously was.
When you really watch Dandadan, you realize Momo isn't just the emotional center of the show. She is the heartbeat that keeps it alive. Without her, it's just chaos and energy. With her, it's meaning. Every reaction, every burst of emotion, every protective instinct, it feels raw. It feels alive. But fans are split because Momo isn't written to be flawless. She's awkward, sometimes jealous, sometimes too emotional. And that's exactly what makes her great.
Maybe the over-the-top march down the hallway wasn't as needed here. Maybe Momo doesn't need as much saving as he had previously thought. I really liked this, as it shows much more about Okarun than I think it does Momo. Okarun is kind of veering off of the path a little bit here, because, of course, Momo would be safe and protected. I think he sort of underestimated that aspect. Whether she knows them or not right now, she has such a strong support group around her that she'll be fine as long as they all stick together. But Momo catches him leaving, deflated as Sakata talks to Vimola and Rin about how he needs to reintroduce himself to Momo because in his delusional mind, she is just, God, she is dying to see all of him. And I love this confidence from Sakata and how, like, yeah, he is delulu, but at the heart of it all, it doesn't ever seem to be self-serving beyond what is just is presented to us. And I think that's shown quite well with Vomola's reaction to him, which is kind of just being excited and happy, brain impy, no brain thingies. But there is a sense of that, I don't know, this scene was kind of like, oh, that's Sakata, up to his usual charming self. But this is where Rin tries to talk some sense into the goober. Rin feels that it's just best to leave her be for now because she'd rather have Momo go back to normal through doing her normal routine so that they don't make her more nervous. Basically telling Sakata that he needs to have a little patience, which is mistake number one, assuming Sakata even knows what the concept of patience is. But Sakata jumps at the opportunity, inspiring the sweet cinnamon roll, cupcake, strawberry plum, and heck, let's just throw tomato in there too, Vomola to come along. But yeah, by the way, I actually did some research because Vomola, in this part, she's referencing the Marugoto banana dessert. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, because I didn't. It's a very popular dessert in Japan that a toddler could probably make. I left a couple of sources in the pinned comment below if you'd like to try some yourself. And if you do, be sure to join my Discord and show us. Sly plug, I know, but I really would like to see your Marugoto bananas. Wait a second, that came out wrong. So, throughout the day, Okarun tries his best to find just the right moment to interject himself into the conversation and talk with Momo. Needless to say, he's overthought it so much that he can't find the particular moment where he is most confident enough to go through with it. Which to me, that's just pretty cute, because Okarun is on super friendly terms with Momo's friends. Like, they're all kind of friends and just trust one another, So to me, this shows that this is more about Okarun than anyone else. He's just overthinking himself. And he chides about not being able to go to Momo and just talk to her. And you can really see here what happens when Okarun doesn't have Momo with him. He starts to refer to himself in these deleterious platitudes. Ignoramus, stalker, useless.
She's messy in the most human way possible. Some people wanted her to be the typical cool girl archetype. But Momo's the opposite. She's grounded in empathy, driven by instinct, and constantly trying to protect everyone, even when she doesn't understand her own feelings. And that's why she works. In a show where aliens, ghosts, and chaos are everywhere, Momo reminds us that emotion is still the most powerful thing in the universe. Fans who say she's mid are missing the point. She's not meant to be a power fantasy. She's meant to be the anchor in a world that's losing its mind. That's why every time she cries, every time she yells, every time she puts herself in danger, it hits. Momo isn't perfect. She's better. She's real.